Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode or session or interview with Iowa Prison Perspectives. My name is Sue Hutchins, and I am doing this in order to inform the public of what prison is like for people who have been in prison, people who love someone who's in prison or has been in prison, people who have worked in the criminal justice system, and people like myself who are advocates for wanting to see some positive change in the prison system. I really believe that the public needs accurate information from people who have been there in order to understand what prison actually is like and how people are affected. This is a collaboration between several organizations. The Living Beyond the Bars of Iowa is an organization that I founded to work with and support the family members and the reentry piece of prison. Iowa Justice Action Network and Cure of Iowa are the other two organizations that collaborate to to, to make this possible for you to hear. So, that being said, I also would like to invite you to please comment or contact me how you feel about these interviews and this interview. I can be found at Iowa Prison Perspectives, and that's IA Prison Perspectives at gmail.com. And I really do look forward to hearing from you because it's important to me how this is being received and how people feel about what information they're getting and what perspectives they're gaining from these interviews. So I'm particularly happy today. I don't know if happy is the right word, but I really feel blessed today to be interviewing for the first time a son and his mother. The son was incarcerated for a number of years, and his mom is with him today to talk about what her experience was like. And they will talk together at some point in the interview about what it was like for the two of them while he was incarcerated and she was wanting him to come home. So let me introduce to you, to start with, Philip's mom.
Hi, Sue. Thank you for the opportunity to share part of our story. Um, and I hope that it helps, mothers or fathers who are going through the same thing or have been going through the same situation where a loved one has been incarcerated because the experience, I believe, never, you never get over it. You heal. Um, you take steps to deal with it and you try to move on. But it's an experience I don't think that a person will ever forget.
Ever get over?
Yeah, so my name is Jackie Omeza and I'm Phyllis' mother. Um, I tell you the experience is has been traumatic.
Mhm.
Um, and let me begin by saying that it was just a series of atrocities that I've been through. So, in the beginning, going back to 2007, my father passed. In 2008, my mother passed. In 2009, my youngest son was tragically killed in a robbery, and he was 14 years old, just an innocent bystander. Um, and then after that, Philip was incarcerated. So it was a series of just traumatic events.
Heartbreaking.
Um,
Heartbreaking.
yes, yes, very heartbreaking. And I tell you, my faith was shaken to the core.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and there's not a lot of resources, um, for families of people that are incarcerated or who's going through the justice system.
Correct.
Um, I tried some online groups. I even had some therapy, but it's hard for people to understand if they've never been through it.
Mm-hmm.
especially with the loss of a son. Um, and even the therapist told me, I've never been through that, so I really can't help you with how you feel. And I'm like, wow, that's disappointing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, um, so like I said, it was a traumatic process. Um, and I kind of, I guess, put my emotions on the back burner because I knew once Phillip was sentenced and he was going to prison, he was going to need support. So I just started making plans and simultaneously trying to deal with my finances, health, all sorts of things, but
Yes,
to make a plan to help him because as a parent, you feel first of all that you're incarcerated with your loved one.
for sure.
And then secondly, you feel a sense of helplessness because you're no longer in control.
Mm-hmm.
Your parental rights are gone.
Yep.
They look at you like you're just another visitor. I actually had to apply with the the justice system, the DOJ, just to see my son.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and then, it was like being in prison by myself, my prison myself along with
Mm-hmm.
him, but I had the freedom to move. I think that's the only difference.
The only
I had
difference.
the right, the freedom, and the independence. Um,
But did you
so,
feel like you had that freedom, or were you pretty locked up in your mind like a person who's in prison? I mean, were you pretty much
both,
focused on him
both,
in the back of your mind all the time?
no, no, both. It was a prison of my mind. It was an emotional roller
Mhm.
coaster.
Right.
The guilt. Did I fail as a parent?
Mm.
Uh, what could I have done different to avoid this situation? Um, feelings of failure. Um, so it was a combination of
Of
the
all of it.
emotional prison and feeling like you're in a physical prison. But the guilt part and the emotional roller coaster, I kind of gave myself time
Mm-hmm.
to deal with that
Mm-hmm.
because it was like grief and loss all over again.
All over again. Yep.
So
And
I,
helplessness in there. He's alive,
right,
but I can't get to him. I can't
right,
do anything to help. And yet I know where he is. And he's now property of the state. He's considered property.
absolutely, right.
And so bless your heart, boy, you've been through, if I dare say, hell on earth.
I have,
Hmm.
I have, and the part of him being property of the state, that was another issue that I had to deal with because when he was with me, if he needed medical attention or he needed this
Right.
or that, then I would get that for him.
Hmm.
When he was with the state, that's a different story. They have regulations, they have procedures um, that they have to
You have
follow.
no
And then,
influence.
excuse me,
And you have no influence over that at all.
right? None,
None.
absolutely none. I can't tell you the number of times that I called the warden, wrote the warden, um, and usually the only way I could get a response out of them was to write constituent services.
And that did get you responses. Constituent
Yes,
services did.
yes, yes, but it was tiresome.
Mm-hmm.
Having to call them, um,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for them to get back,
Yes.
and, and having the phone right next to me, because if you miss their call, forget it. Then the
Right.
process starts all over again,
Right. Right.
and with having to work and manage my own life, I mean, it was
So
difficult
much.
finding time to just keep calling them and keep following up. And you have to keep notes because this one says one thing and then the other one doesn't know anything about it. And
Mm-hmm.
um, well, who did you speak with? And so, I mean, I just had to keep a running notebook on who I talked to, when I talked to a person, what was their response? What is the next step? And
Mm-hmm.
getting them to actually um, do what they said they were going to do. And the whole justice system, the DOJ, they're racking in a lot of money, but the
That's
system
true.
is broken. It is broken.
Well, what I would suggest to that is that it's not broken. It's working exactly the way they want it to work. It's raking in a lot of money. That's
Well, yeah,
and then
it's
that I mean it's broken if you're looking at it from like your perspective and my perspective about it's not really helping the people who are incarcerated. It's not really serving the people who are incarcerated. If you look at it from a financial perspective, it's working exactly the way they want it to.
yeah.
Exactly
So
the way they want it to.
so let me clarify that the
Okay.
financial part of it is
Yeah.
not broken. What I was referring to
Right.
is their system of, um, I guess I want to say treating people like people and
Right.
not less than human. That is broken. Um, Resources for families, that's broken. That that doesn't even exist. I mean, there's no, and then when a person is released, there's not a lot of programs to
Right.
help them transition back into the community. So a lot of people reoffend
Sure.
and
Sure.
they go right back. It's just like a revolving door. And
Hmm.
maybe the system is set up like that, you know? Maybe.
As long as it stays punitive and not rehabilitation and not programs to actually help people, as long as it stays more punitive and more demoralizing and more dehumanizing, it will continue to produce what it produces now. People who, if they don't have a great deal of support when they come out, they a lot of people come out of a lot of people come out of prison excited and with a plan and with ready to work, ready to do whatever, and they're deflated pretty quickly because businesses don't hire them. It's hard to find somewhere to live. I mean, all of those things that we do not provide, that the system does not provide for people.
I
That
agree.
yeah, yeah. And my heart is with the families. I mean, that's why I started living beyond the bars is support for family members. So I wish we could
Mhm.
have connected a long time. I think, I mean, having support may have helped you quite a bit and resources and other people in your position to talk to that who understand because they're going through it and who
Mhm.
don't blame you. Do you feel at all like society puts some blame on moms when their sons get in trouble or daughters get in
I
trouble?
do. I do. I think it's a stigma that society puts on parents
Mhm.
um, when their children
Active.
get involved in criminal activity, or they go to jail or they go to prison. And
Mhm.
I think it's unfair. I felt like that too at one time before I
Mhm.
actually experienced the situation. And I think that as society in whole, we do a lot of pointing the finger instead of looking for solutions.
Hmm.
You know, we have brilliant and talented people in society. Surely we could come up with a solution.
Surely is right. Yes. And if we look at some of the European countries like Denmark and Sweden and Switzerland, they have come up with solutions that are about getting people back into society, not punishing them forever for the worst thing they've ever done.
Hmm.
In our society, nobody is better than the worst thing they've ever done, and nobody or everybody is better than the worst thing they've done. Everybody. Your son is a
Hmm.
good man who did some not good stuff, but that doesn't erase the good in him. And
Right.
that should be more nurtured and brought to the forefront instead of punishing forever. Yeah.
Hmm.
So.
I agree. You know, and then there's a stigma with single moms, single Black moms, single minority parents. I was married at the time. I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
Philip was not a child. He made choices.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if, you know, like I said, we just need to stop pointing fingers. Um, People come from a different array of backgrounds, social status, economic status, um, single parents. I know families who have had sons incarcerated, and both parents were in the home. They were married. So I mean, we have to come up with solutions and stop um, spending so much time gathering statistics and demographics, and then pointing the finger and saying, "Well, this is the reason why this happened."
Mm-hmm.
We just have to take more accountability as a society, as a
Yes, a
community.
society, yes, yes, and work together for solutions. Recognize the areas that we need to improve in all along, for sure.
Hmm.
So, well, thank you very much for that. And I'm really sorry you had to go through that pretty much alone.
Thank you.
I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. I really am sorry because nobody should have to deal with that without a support network and some
I
resources,
agree. I
some help.
agree.
Yeah. Yes. So so Philip, how do you feel about what your mom has just said?
No, she is 100% on point. Um, for me, I mean, I was feeling some of the same things that she felt. Shame, embarrassment, guilt. Right. That's the main driving factor in it all. Being incarcerated, I took myself out of position to where I left her by herself. You know what I mean? So, and that's just not, financially, just physically, like just my presence, that was just taken away from us. So I feel a lot of the same things that she felt, but I didn't understand that at the time. Uh DLC, they have programs, they have classes. But for me, it's all about extracting the good and just leaving the rest. And I'm not saying that, that the programs or classes are not helpful or don't take them. But for me, I just needed to extract what's feasible for me. Um, but I went to ICVC. I learned about, the domino effect, and man, just reading that information, reviewing it, going through it, man, it really, touched a part of me. Circling back to what you said, I am a good man. Um, that's my, intrinsic nature.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's how my mom raised me. I was, well spoken, behaved, respectful. But I did some bad things. I made some horrible decisions, just out of ignorance. But yeah, going back to the domino effect, it's almost like my actions affected everyone else around me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Mm-hmm.
over time, getting
Mm-hmm.
exposed to new information, just thinking about it, mulling over it, like I realized, like, man, my mom was incarcerated too. My girlfriend at the time, she was incarcerated too. I really didn't have a big support system, so my mom has been there for me since day one, still is today, and I'm grateful.
Yes. 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 And would you say that when you were incarcerated, did you appreciate your mom while you were incarcerated?
Absolutely. And honestly, like so I was in county jail. I was, taking my time, which means getting sentenced. And in the back of my mind, like I was thinking, like, because 15 years is a long time,
It's a long time. That's right.
Uh,
That's a long time.
and I was just thinking, like, man, I just pray to God, like, hopefully I can get out before my mom, if anything happens to her, but
Mm-hmm.
dodge that bullet. And I just value, every moment that I get to spend with her.
Yes. 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 And Jackie,
Sue,
do you mind if I call you Jackie?
yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead with what you were going to say.
One of the things that I wanted to stress is that when I talked about the emotions of having my son incarcerated, I don't know if I mentioned the anger.
No, you
Um,
didn't.
that
But,
Yeah, that was a big part. And the emotions don't go away. I still deal with them today.
mm-hmm.
Um, but at first it was anger. Why did he do this to me? Doesn't he realize how is going to affect me? I
Mm-hmm.
raised him better than this.
Mm-hmm.
Philip was always a very bright student. I gave him a good foundation in private school, um, where I worked, went to school, did what I had to do to take care of him, before I
Mm-hmm.
got married. Um, when he was younger, I had he had an IQ test because
Mm-hmm.
he was doing so well in school and they wanted to advance him a couple of grades. And the professor told me that he tested at the level of a genius. And I'm like, wow.
Wow.
So he had a good education. His grandparents were so supportive. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
think they crossed the spoiling line, as grandparents do, but um, he had a really good upbringing. I'm a I have uh, six sisters and four brothers. We grew up in Valley Park. Um, when I was about 7 or 9, we moved to Kirkwood, so, and then that's where I grew up in Kirkwood. So Philip also lived there too. We didn't move a lot. What they say, these statistics say that these transitions, how they
Mm-hmm.
affect kids, and so um, I was very angry. I'm like, it was no reason to get involved in anything. You had a good upbringing, you had grandparents that loved you, you had family that loved you, you were doing well in school, you were well taken care of. So I had to deal with that. And sometimes it still comes across my mind. Why?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't always know the reason why for a lot of things. We just have to learn to accept it and move on with our purpose in life.
Yes. And not let the whys bring up all the shame and what should I have done different, or what could I have done different, or how did I fail? I wanted to ask you, do you feel like you have gotten past that feeling like you failed, those questions about how did I fail? What could I have done different? Do you feel like that, is that still with you? Is it less than it used to be? Is it still there all the time? What's that like for you?
Um, it's lighter, but I'm hoping it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then I do think, when you do reflection on your
Mm-hmm.
life, you kind of think, maybe if I hadn't have did this, or maybe if I had made that choice, maybe things would have been outcomes would have been different. And then I have to deal with that rationale part. Jackie, you can't change the past.
Mm-hmm.
You can only move forward and learn from your mistakes. And I think it's a great benefit in learning from our mistakes, especially if we don't repeat them.
That's the key, is to not repeat it. Because nobody's
Hmm.
perfect.
Right.
Nobody's perfect. And there's no perfect parent. And we all look back and say, gee, maybe that was not the best thing to do. Maybe I could have done this different. And then do it different next
Yeah.
time. You can only do what you know. And once you
Right.
know better,
And
you do better.
yeah, and Philip and I have had some tough conversations with, him saying, Mom, why did you do this? And why did you do that? And that made me feel like this, and that made me feel like that. And I tried to explain to him that a lot of things that I did, because I was raising him alone,
Mm-hmm.
because the marriage didn't work out, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other issues, that I did it to keep him out of the justice system.
Mm-hmm.
And but then he still, well, how come you did this? And finally I said, look, Phillip, kids don't come with instruction. You were my first child. I didn't have instructions when you were born. And that kind of ended that. He had to laugh. I laughed, and we kind of squashed that. That kind of ended that conversation. Kids don't come with manuals or instructions. We just do the best we can as parents.
Yes. And how do you feel about that, Philip?
The same. Like I said, I got incarcerated at a young age. I was locked up at 22. You know, some scientists argue it's 25. Some say it's 26. But my brain wasn't fully developed.
Right.
That's not neither here nor there. But what I'm saying is, it was a continual learning journey for me. Um, I hold nothing against my mother. She did the best that she could do, but I just had to put all the pieces into perspective, so to speak.
Well, and dare I say that a lot of external trauma happened that neither one of you were prepared for.
Oh, for sure,
Jackie,
yeah.
you weren't prepared for the things that happened and the closeness of the events, and it's overwhelming. And Philip, you weren't prepared for those things to happen. And when we're not prepared, we don't know how to deal with our own, let alone how to be the best for another person. So doing our best sometimes is, in retrospect, we can see, gee, I should have done this different, or I wish I'd have done that different. If I'd have known then what I know now, that
Mm-hmm.
old
Right.
adage. Um, so I'm glad to hear that you two have let that part go, that you're not blaming each other. And of course, anger comes up. Of course it does. Of course, whys still come up. That's just normal. The beauty is that you're able to talk about it and be together and support each other now. That's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Philip, did you see a lot of other people in prison who had the kind of support from their mother that you had?
So I've experienced both ends of the spectrum. So first of all, I'm very introverted person. Uh, in prison, I think it's wise to evaluate your company, the people that you interact with, the conversations that you have, because of, just personal safety. But I'm an introverted person. I don't talk to very many people, but a few people that I got close with, a few people that I got cool with. I've experienced both ends of the spectrum. Some people were very close with their moms, like me, some people had, no support from their family. So
Mhm.
I would try to look out for them the best way I could without putting myself out of position. But yes, I've seen it both. I've seen both sides.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you say that you did what you could to help the ones who didn't have support.
Yeah, so what I would do is so, and I'm not a wasteful person, don't get me wrong, but say for instance, I'm wearing these shorts, um, it's a fixable, you know, hole or patch or whatever. So I buy a new pair of shorts, right? I probably give them the old ones, give them a little container, needles and sewing and, get that to them.
Hmm.
I would get them food if I'm cooking like a meal. I get them some like, just do what humans do for one another.
Yes. Yes. And that speaks to your compassion, which is a wonderful quality to have.
No, for sure, yeah.
So would you talk a little bit about what reentry has been like between the two of you?
Uh, yeah. So for me, like on the personal side, everything is well. Like I'm with my mom. I spend a lot of time over here. Like I love it. On the other side, like the business side, it has been very difficult for me to land a job. Not even a career, just a job. Going back when I first came home from prison, I put in hundreds of applications, like literally. I'm not talking about figuratively. Like I literally put in hundreds of applications.
Yes.
I finally got one person to call me back, but the job that I have, um, I really don't know what happened to the workforce, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. But it's difficult,
Mhm.
a lot of nights I can't sleep. I'm up, I'm thinking, I'm trying to, generate a sustainable source of income for myself. And for my
Mhm.
mom too. So first of all, she doesn't need my money, right? But just the fact that, okay, if I have an extra $150, I should be able to buy something nice for my mom, right? But I can't. I'm in a situation now where, all my bills are paid, but that leaves me very little room to operate financially. So it's been kind of tough, but beyond that, I'm grateful.
Mhm.
I'm gainfully employed. I'm taking care of all my bills. I'm taking care of all my financial obligations. So that's good. But what about you, Mom? What do you think about that?
Reentry was exciting for me. I was so glad that
Yes.
Philip was home because it was expensive, along with the emotional and,
Right.
you know, losing parental. rights. Um, it was expensive. I had to put money on his phone so that we'd always have contact. Um, I was pretty much a counselor for him when he was going through ups and downs, depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, fear, all of those things.
Mhm.
Um, and then also, I sent him money every month so that he could buy the things that he wants. Um,
Commissary and food.
hmm
Oh,
so he could buy a television, radio, have some sense of normalcy, some sense of still being a part of
yeah, contact with
society.
the outside. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So that was important too, because the jobs that they have in prison, they pay pennies.
Right.
So, and then the commissary is, the prices are like price gouging.
It's higher.
So,
Things are pricier in prison than they are out here.
uh-huh.
Yes.
hmm
People don't
So
understand that. I mean, and that's criminal in my mind that they charge more for people who are incarcerated to get peanut butter than they do out here when they're paying pennies for wages.
it is criminal. They're punishing people for a crime, but they're committing crimes 360.
Hmm. And the family who didn't do anything wrong, the loved ones who were not part of whatever
Exactly.
happened, are the ones who end up financially burdened.
hmm And I thought about that. I'm like, okay, I gotta apply to see my son. I gotta let you know when I'm coming to visit. I gotta go through all these metal detectors and swabs and show you my ID and all this. And I could only see him for a certain amount of time. I could only hug him, give him a kiss once, and then I gotta sit down. I gotta keep my hands on the table where you can't see him. I gotta go to the vending machine to get snacks that are um, the price is triple than
Hmm.
what we pay here. And I have to bring it back to the table and give it to him. My bags have to be, I have to do all this, but then yet the system expects for me to provide for him financially.
And
But
you're
I have
blamed.
no say.
And you're blamed
Absolutely.
for what happened, for what he did.
Yes.
That's quite a dynamic that we got going
Mm-hmm.
in this
Yeah, it
country
is.
when it comes to prison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's of course it's been a joy to have him home. I'm thinking, whew, for one thing, I could save a lot of money. No
Hmm.
more commissary, no more phone. And the phone
Right.
cost was ridiculous. And then you had all these taxes and all
Hmm.
kind of stuff they attached to it. It is just, it really is criminal. Um, so that's what I'm saying. They make a lot of money, but they're not. The financial part is not broken, but all the other parts,
Right.
it's just
Right.
it's not good.
I
Not
agree.
good.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
Um, but I'm glad to have him home, and then after a while, I'm like, okay, he's got to get a job. Um, he's got an associate degree, he's got a bachelor's degree, and, I encouraged him and told him all the good reasons why he should finish school and get these degrees. And then he comes out, and when he applies, people are impressed with his GPA and with his degrees. But when they see that felony record, it's like, nope.
Hmm.
So here's where the system is broken again. Um,
Hmm.
they have the people who are incarcerated have went to school, they've got degrees, they've got skills that they learned, but nobody gives them a chance once
Right.
they get out.
Yeah. Yes, that needs to change. And it needs to change. People's hearts and minds need to change about that. Employers need to change their view. That we've had success in Iowa due to a man whose name is Kyle Horn. He started an organization in Iowa that was called Job Heroes, and he worked with the CEOs and the COs and the owners of businesses and convinced them what good employees these guys coming out of prison would be. And it's been very successful in Iowa. That kind
That's
of
wonderful.
program, yeah, that kind of program needs to happen in all the states. I mean, it really does
No,
need to
for
happen
sure.
in all the states where somebody who has the ability and the connections to be able to talk to business people about this is why you should hire. These are the best employees you'll ever find. For one thing, they're going to be there because they're on probation and they have to be. They're not going to be using drugs because they have to have clean UAs or they're going back to prison, and they need the money. I mean, they're the
Right.
best. They're the best employees you will find, and that's what was found out by this
No, for
program that
sure.
Kyle started. So, um,
And so allow me to interject. I just
sure,
want to touch on that for a moment.
okay.
Like, I'm like the best employee too for all of the reasons that you just spoke of. Uh, and it's like a shift. Like I was telling somebody, I think it was you, Mom. I was like watching the movie Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like that. I feel like I got frozen in time and unthawed like hundreds of years later because the difference between the world that I left and the world that I'm currently living in now, it's like night and day, right? So I
For
don't
sure.
know if COVID changed it. I don't know. It's probably a ton of different variables that came into play, but like people are late to work all the time,
Mhm.
right? At my job, you got managers who are late to work for at least an hour or 2 hours late, and it's normal, right? People leaving the jobs. A job that I worked on in the past, he quit his job, came back to the same job about 5, 6 days later, and continued working, right? So these are some of the things that you run into as an employer. But I don't know. Like I said, they impressed with my GPA. They impressed with my
Mhm.
accolades. They impressed by the schools that I attended. But when they see the felony conviction, it's like hands off, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I agree 100%. Like we are some of the best employees. I just need an opportunity to show that, to
To
showcase
show
my,
it.
skill set.
Yeah, to be there for that. Yes. Yes. I completely agree. Is there we're about at a close to an hour. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about? Anything that you want to make sure that you say for people to hear and possibly understand about what the reentry has been like for the two of you and about how you feel now about the prison experience?
I think that I would like to let families know that just because a person is incarcerated doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It means that they
Mhm.
make bad choices. And so when at the time of reentry, first of all, they need your support throughout the whole process. And when they come home, it's very important that they have a support system so that they don't reoffend.
Mhm.
And I think that working through your emotions and kind of setting aside your anger or disappointment is really key to helping that person,
Mm-hmm.
because until we get some programs in place, or I don't know, until we change, reevaluate this reentry system, people are going to keep reoffending. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
find a way to survive.
Exactly.
And yes, so I think I just want to stress the importance of setting up a support system for them, helping them set up a support system.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yes. Philip, anything you want to add or say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So for me, um, being led to prison was a result of my best thinking. Um, at the time, I just really was not thinking clearly at all. So if I had, any advice to the families, to, my peers, or, anybody who has been involved with the justice system, I would strongly advocate for therapy. I went through a lot of trauma in my life. And I'm not blaming the traumas, it was the reaction to the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, my, the latest loss, was my little brother. Um, and I really couldn't cope with all of those emotions
Mm-hmm.
at the time. So if you're going through something, like, I strongly advise for you to talk to somebody before you do anything foolish or something that could potentially cost you the rest of your life. So I would advocate therapy for sure.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, and thank you both very much for being willing to do this. I think it's been wonderful and I think it's been really helpful. And you're very fortunate to have each other, I would say. You're very fortunate to have each other. And you, Jackie, especially personally, thank you for sticking with it and for doing what you needed to do to keep yourself surviving and moving forward and to be supportive for Philip. And Philip, I'm glad that you appreciate what your mom has done. And I'm glad for you that you have turned into the man that you've turned into. It's really wonderful to see. It's very inspirational to me. The two of you are very inspirational to me. And I hope that
Thank
people who are watching this will feel that inspiration and will gain insight into what it's been like for you and for a lot of families who have someone who's incarcerated. So with that, we will close for today. And I'm really touched and grateful that you guys were willing to do this interview. I think it's going to be really helpful to people. And I hope that it is helpful to you in your process of healing and moving forward as a mother and son. So let me say once again, my name is Sue Hutchins, and I can be reached at iowaprisonperspectives@gmail.com, and that's iaprisonperspectives@gmail.com. And please comment on what you heard today and how you feel about what you heard today. I think this is a rare opportunity that we don't often get. We don't often get a family member and somebody who's been incarcerated to sit down together and share their stories with you, the public, for your benefit. So I very much appreciate the two of them, and I hope that you appreciate them also. And with that, I think we will close for today, and I will say goodbye, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you.